What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Pickle Pulse. I am your host, Brian Green, and today we have another paddle review for you. This year, 2024, has been phenomenal for great paddles being dropped left and right, whether you're looking for power, whether you're looking for pop, all court, control, there is something out there for you. And today we are going to be talking about the new line from Gamma that is actually dropping tomorrow, September 1st. I'm taping this on the 31st. And they are dropping the Airbender 10. Look how thin this guy is. It's so light and feels amazing in your hand, although it gives you that immediate feedback. But we'll talk a little bit more about this. And also, they are dropping the RCF Airbender 13. So about, I would say 10 months ago or so, I reviewed the Airbender 16 from Gamma. And what I really like, and again, what I'm always looking for is like innovative, new, creative things that companies are doing. And this particular shape is so unique. Also, you'll notice that Gamma has shockbuster technology. So you'll see you can just pop these guys in and out. They come in different weights, and we'll talk again a little bit about that here in the future, and just pop in and out. And it's such a cool, unique feature for these paddles. The Airbender 16 was a control-oriented paddle. The thing that I really loved about it is I felt like I could reset and drop from anywhere on the court, but it really lacked in power and pop up at the kitchen line. So if you're looking for a control-oriented, the 16 is actually a great paddle for you to choose from. The other thing is the customizability of these paddles. You can also change out your end caps on these with different weights so that you've got a shockbuster that's adjustable. You've got an end cap that's adjustable. And if you're like me, you're adding weights to the paddle in different places so that you can really kind of groove into exactly what you want out of the paddle and based on what you're feeling. So I think that's one of the biggest assets of this paddle line is that you can buy it with the different weights and then essentially play with it until it's grooved right to where you want to be. So let's talk about the specifications of the paddles. The core material is going to be a polymer honeycomb like most paddles out there. And the core thickness is going to vary between the three models. So you've got a 16 millimeter option, which is going to be your most control oriented, a 13 millimeter option, which is going to give you a little more pop and power, but still very controllable. And then a 10 millimeter option, which is very thin. It's actually one of the thinnest, if not the thinnest. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, guys, but I think it is the thinnest paddle on the market. And that is going to give you a good bit of pop, some power, but the benefit to that is it's just a really light headlight paddle. The paddle surface is a Toray T700 raw carbon fiber face. It's an edgeless paddle, which means that a lot of times it's not going to be as forgiving. You can certainly feel the bad shots, but I'll tell you that when you add some of the customizable features on this paddle, it feels fantastic, and it doesn't even feel like an edgeless paddle anymore. And we'll get into that a little further. These are thermoformed, and they have foam-filled edges with a molded foam handle, which feels very good in your hand. The average weight on these were 8.3 ounces, although I will tell you that my Airbender 10 came in with a static weight of 8.1 ounces. And after I added the 0.35 shockbuster, it ended up being 8.43 ounces, which could be a little heavy. It's kind of in that medium weight world, but I will tell you that because of where the weight is added, it is super light in your hand and feels really, really nice. So don't let those numbers scare you. The Airbender 13 came in with a static weight actually a little under the Airbender 10 at 8.07, but I added a lot more weight. I added 3 grams at the 4 and 8 position on the paddle, and I added the second heaviest shockbuster, which I believe was the 0.2, and also I added the end cap that is 0.2 ounces to the bottom just to give it a little more headlight feel. And this paddle, even though it's on the upper echelon of what I traditionally like for my weights, it feels super light in the hand. And so that just goes to tell you that where you're adding the weight really will determine how the paddle feels in your hand. The length on these are a traditional elongated 16.5 inches, with the width being 7 3/8 inches. The grip length comes out at 5 3/8 inches, which is in that like super happy place of almost 5.5 inches. And the grip circumference is 4 1/8 inches. With your Gamma signature honeycomb grip, which I'm not really a huge fan of, but I will tell you that Gamma sent me some of their over grips, and I'll put them up on the screen here now. And these are the best grips that I have used. I've been using the Wilson perforated for a long time, and they're a little bit longer, so you have to wrap it more tight around the paddle. With these, they're not quite as long, so you get a little looser wrap. As a matter of fact, I'll pull out, and you guys can see, there we go. So here is the Gamma wrap that's not quite as long and definitely allows a looser wrap, wherein here's my Wilson wrap, and you'll see on here, I have to wrap it much tighter with the Wilson so that it'll actually fit. And I really love that about the Gamma. So definitely look those up. Okay, so let's talk about the playability of these paddles. And since I'm talking about two paddles, I'm going to first address the RCF Airbender 13. This is the one that I think will appeal to most people out there, because this paddle is a great combination of pop and power. Now, the RCF Airbender series is a edgeless paddle. So what that means for you guys who haven't played with one of those before is that you are going to feel the mishits a little more on an edgeless paddle. And traditionally, an edgeless paddle has a slightly smaller sweet spot. What I will say about these guys is that the Airbender 13 felt super solid in my hand when I picked it up. And it's one of those paddles that you can get used to in a game or less. So some paddles, because the pop and the power is so overwhelming, it's really hard, and it'll take a week, sometimes 2 weeks, or if you're playing with a gearbox or a Eula mod, it could take a month to get used to because they're so unique and so powerful. This one is not that paddle, but I would put it more towards Gen 2 performance than Gen 3 performance. Where this paddle really excels is it feels exceptionally light in your hand. And I know a lot of times players will go to an edgeless paddle because they tend to be a little lighter. Even though they have some of those detrimental effects, these paddles do not have that. And what's really cool is because of all the mods, I'm going to pull out here again, the Shockbuster here, as well as the end cap that you can customize, you can really play with the weighting on this. So I played out of the box with this paddle with nothing on it other than the Shockbuster that came with the paddle. And I played really well. I enjoyed it. But I found that after playing with it a while, I wanted to see if I can get a little more power, a little more pop. And also, I just felt like the paddle was so light that the mishits weren't quite going over the net the way that I wanted them to, or were just falling short. So I added 0.3 grams of my Thrive weight. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Thrive. You guys rock. Just to the sides of the paddle, as you can see here, I added the 12 gram, which I believe is the heaviest. And actually, I just checked, and it is the heaviest of the Shockbusters that they send in the kit. And I ended up putting a weight cap on the bottom of 0.3 as well. So this paddle actually came out to like 8.7 ounces, but because all the weight is here at the bottom, it feels so light in your hand. And because there's a little bit of edge tape on the outside here, it feels super sturdy. So I've been playing with this for about a week. It is definitely a paddle that I could play with long term. It's super easy to adjust to. It hits great drives. And as you're seeing in these videos, the ball dips. Even though the T700 on here, and if you could hear that, is really, really fine, just like the original ones, the ball grabs on it exceptionally well. And it seems like the ball is just dipping over the net. And I can place the ball anywhere I want on the court. Well, as much as a 4.8 duper can. Now let's talk about the Airbender 10. As you can see, I haven't modded this one up as much, other than I did add the heaviest weight, the 0.35 that they offer in the Shockbuster zone. I didn't put anything on the bottom, again, because I didn't really feel like it needed a counterweight. I wanted it to feel slightly more head heavy, and this worked out really, really well, because this paddle out of the box just is too light for me. I could feel any and every miss hit with it, and I didn't see an exceptional increase in pop and power with it overall. So I wanted to weight it up, and after I did that, it felt so much better. As a matter of fact, if this were going to be my go-to paddle, I would probably put like a 0.5 perimeter all the way around the outside, and it would feel fantastic. You'd get great plow through. This paddle for a 10 millimeter initially feels kind of cardboardy, plywoody, but after you add the weights, it feels very plush and much better in the hands. And I would say, again, this is a paddle that I could play with. And the customizable aspects of these paddles is where they excel. If you are someone that likes to tinker but don't want to buy paddles over and over and over again, you should grab these paddles, because you can tinker and find the sweet spot that feels best for you. Or let's say you're having an issue with like a tennis elbow. You can take some of the weight off and you have a lighter paddle. The other thing is, if you need a light paddle, these guys, you can pull the Shockbusters out. You will feel the vibrations a little more, but it gives you one of the lightest paddles on the market with great grit, great power and spin. So I would highly recommend the Airbender 10 if you're looking for a really light paddle, something that is quality made, that is on the lightest or lighter side, that you could then add weight to if you choose to. So to recap, I gave these paddles a 7.5 on power and pop, and spin and control I will put probably in the 8 to 9 realm. The reason being is they're very easy to get used to. They will grab the ball exceptionally well. And I saw many of my drives dipping to where it was down at the knee around the kitchen line as I was hitting them. And that's what I look for. If I have a paddle that I can shape, that I can control, then I'm really going to enjoy playing with that paddle. And then the overall playability of this paddle is what I would call all court, or what all the paddle reviewers are going to call all court. This is something you can pick up and you can play with right away and feel really good. The other thing is they're exceptional quality and very durable. I beat the snot out of my RCF 13 as I've played with it the last couple of weeks, and there are hardly any scrapes or nicks. I'm actually going to pull out a little bit, and I want to show you. The sides have this cool like honeycomb feature to it, and it really does protect the paddles. I mean, the worst one I have is here where I hit the ground really hard. But otherwise, after playing with it, just very minor nicks. So you're getting a durable paddle, one that will last, and also one that's customizable. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was an informative paddle review for you. And if you are open to looking at the new Gamma Airbenders, they will be dropping on September 1st. The Airbender 16 was $199.99, so I'm assuming these are going to be in a similar price point. And you can save on these paddles by using my code PULSE15 at checkout and save 15%. And my final thought that I'll leave with you guys is that there are so many good paddles on the market right now. So figure out what aspects of your game that you want to make better or more, or you want to improve upon, and try to find the equipment that will help you get there. And finally, if you've been enjoying the reviews, we're going to have more coming out. Typically, I'm going to do a paddle review a week, as long as I have things in the queue, which I do for the next couple of weeks, and would love for you to come along for the ride. Please like, please subscribe, comment, and until next time, I'll see you guys on the courts.